Hey guys, it's Bailey and welcome back to the channel for what is going to be a tutorial done in a slightly different format that I typically do on this channel. Rather than doing a voiceover, it's actually going to be a talk through, which I haven't done in a really long time, but I was kind of looking for to jazz things up in a different way. And I have a lot of Pure Minerals products that have been piling up. They've sent me a lot, I've purchased some, and I've been meaning to just get out reviews and demos, and you know how I like to do like information-packed videos. I just haven't had the time. So I thought this would be a good way to create the look, you get the demo, but I also tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, tips for application, how I like to use this stuff, all that jazz. So let me know what you think of this in the comments below. It's definitely going to be a little bit longer than my average tutorial, but it's going to be information packed. So hopefully you like that. I will put timestamps down below because I know a lot of you appreciate that when you can kind of skip ahead to products that you're most interested in. So look for those below. But besides that, let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial. All right, here we are, barefaced. I have been thoroughly moisturized. I like to use a moisturizer with an SPF in it. So I've started there, and then I'm going to begin with foundation. If you've seen my tutorials, you know I typically like to start with the eyes, but because I am going all cream eyeshadow in this look, I don't have to worry about fallout. So I'm starting with foundation. This is their new Hydrafluid Water Serum Foundation. Well, relatively new. Like I said, guys, I've had this stuff sitting like in my to try, to review, etc. pile for forever. So I think it's the newest to their lineup, but it's not necessarily new. So the bad news about these guys is that the shade isn't on the outside, so I think it's the shade Light, but I don't actually know. It is not anywhere here. And I gave away the two surrounding shades to some of my friends because they actually sent the entire, like all the shades to me. So it's a little too light for me right now, so I'm just gonna mix a hair of it with a darker, I have two darker shades here. Once again, I have no idea which shades because not on the bottles, but here are the two actually darkest. So I'm just gonna do some mixture magic and get going to that on my face. To apply that, by the way, I'm gonna go in using this contour foundation brush, also from them. The other thing to note about these is that you have to shake them up. You can't really hear it. There's not a ball inside to help mix the pigment with the medium, but if you go without shaking it up for even a day, you'll notice at the bottom here, it has kind of a cool dispenser. It's like a droplet sort of thing, but you can see that the mixing medium separates from the pigment, so you really want to make sure and shake it up. That way you're not losing that, and then the foundation will dry out and not perform as well as it's supposed to. Just a heads up. So I've just mixed a little bit of a deeper shade in with that. I'm going in, applying it all over. This is a really light coverage formula, so it's definitely going to even out the skin tone, but I would call it more of a buildable tinted moisturizer. You're gonna get more coverage than you would with a tinted moisturizer, but it's certainly not full coverage by any means. It also has a a healthy glow, so it's more of a dewy finish foundation, which I'm not afraid of. I have combo skin, but I do love a good healthy glow foundation. What I can't really handle is one of those foundations that goes rogue during the day and develops excess shine. I need a foundation that if it's going to be dewy, it maintains its level of dew throughout the day. Otherwise, my combo skin will take it and run with it, and it will be out of control. So the thing with this for me personally is that I've yet to wear it and have it not run away from me a little bit, no matter whether I set it with powder, use a mattifying primer. It's just one of those that it's very moisturizing. It helps, it feels very nourishing on my skin, but because I don't have dry or very dry or normal skin even, it just comes off as a little bit too much for me. So it's a great formula. Would recommend it for people with normal, dry, very dry skin that are looking for light to buildable coverage and don't mind that extra glow, if you know what I'm saying. So you can see there, it really did just even things out. I mean, any under eye discoloration isn't completely gone. Some of it, by the way, totally honest, is mascara. It's still left over. But you can see I have redness around my nose. We're all well aware. It doesn't cancel that. It doesn't cancel, you know, any of the spots I have going on my forehead. It's just a really nice natural coverage foundation. So concealer and powder are two things that I'm gonna buzz right through because they aren't pure. So just so you know what I'm using, this is the Dermablend Professional Smooth Liquid Camo Concealer. It has been my go-to for about the past few months. Put 2 dots there, 2 dots there, 1 on that spot, and then I like to go to town with this using my fingers because I find that gets the most natural blend. Not gonna lie, I was a little worried about what I would talk about. I'm so used to zoning out and just like putting music or the radio on or something. I'll watch other people's YouTube videos because this is like the time that I can actually sit down and be relatively still, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, just kind of do that sort of thing. But I feel like it's going well. What do you think? And then I just use any excess that is on my finger to go around to, like I said, my chin area, any place that I just tend to want a little bit more coverage. So that's the concealer. And then the powder that I like to use is the Laura Mercier Loose Setting Powder Translucent. I'm so late to this party, but have really, really been loving it as far as loose powder goes. This, by the way, is the Pür Blurring Powder Brush, which coincidentally is great for getting the under eye area like so. It's also a good contour brush because it fits really nicely into the hollows of the cheeks right there. Oh, that's a lot of powder. So the face is done. Let's move in to the eyes. I have a few powder shadows from them. It actually came in a larger face palette, the Selfie Ready palette. I forget what it's called. I did a full review here though, so I could link to that down below. What I wanted to work with today were the cream shadows they have out, which are the eye polishes. They're actually base and top coat. Top coat? That's not a word. Top coat. They can actually be used 3 ways, as either a base or standalone eyeshadow as a base under your eyeshadow, or like they say in here, top coat. And I think what that means is you just put it over your powder eyeshadow. I like to use it the first 2 ways. Not a super fan of using it over powder eyeshadow unless it's one of these. Well, I mean, there's select use for all of them. I don't tend to have a need to use them as top coats, but they can be used as such. I just tend to prefer them as bases or as standalone shadows. The shades that I have, by the way, are Cashmere, which is this beautiful golden champagne. Then there is Silk, which is this beautiful rose gold, and Velvet, which is an amazing kind of grapey but metallic plum almost. So all of these come with a spatula type deal. It's a very soft silicone-y type thing, not exactly a brush. I think spatula describes it best. But it's it's useful to get in there because inside here, if any of you are familiar with the Stila Aqua blushes, very similar setup. I don't personally own any, I've just seen a lot of reviews. Similar setup in here, there's a little mesh barrier and you just press that in. It's very, very flexible. You can see, I mean, just how far that goes in. You don't have to worry about it breaking, but you really need that because for seeming like more of a liquid texture, it's more of a stiff cream, I would say. And so you really, with this kind of tool specifically, need to get in there to be able to push in and kind of maneuver around the inside of the jar since you can't directly access it. So you can get in there really nicely without having to worry about breaking it, and sometimes you need to just because the way this kind of tends to move around in the jar, it's just not always as easy to get out. So I'm going to show you a couple ways that I like to apply it. The spatula is not always my preferred method just because it can sometimes lay it on a little too heavy. So I will use this to first go in and apply it. This tapered tip is really nice for getting in there in the inner corner, but you can see when you lay this down, that is, you know, that's a solid layer of cream shadow. So unless you want a very, very metallic finish, if that's what you're after, this is perfect. But if not, you want to diffuse it for more of a daytime or just a softer wear, what I like to do is do something like this and then go in with a fluffy brush. This one is the Airbrush eyeshadow brush, and just blend it out. I have mixed feelings about the packaging on these just because as it's dried out. I purchased these probably December or January because I remember taking them when I was traveling for the holidays, and it was easier to get out of the packaging when it was a little bit more wet. At this point it feels like it's dried out just a little bit, and so I foresee as these continue to dry out, it will be a little bit harder to get them out of the packaging. So I'm not sure why they went the route they did with these. I would almost prefer a pot, but luckily because it's mesh, it can easily be cut out and I can fix it. But just a word of warning, if you aren't sure how you're gonna like that packaging, it is definitely something a little bit different to work with. The other thing about these that I really want to mention is that unlike a lot of cream bases that I have and love, these I absolutely have to wear a primer under if I'm wearing them alone. If I'm wearing a shadow over top, I can 100% start with these and my shadow will be crease free throughout the day. But unlike working with a primer that might remain tacky, you don't get a whole lot of time to work with these before they dry down. So I wouldn't anticipate them being or acting as a sticky shadow base. They're more just a pigmented shadow base for you to lay whatever powders you want over top. So next shade up, I am going in with the gorgeous Silk shade, which is the rose gold. And you can actually see here, this is more like what the consistency was when I first got these. For some reason, the shade I just used is a little bit more dried up. But the nice thing about this consistency is you'll see how much transfers to the lid. From there, you almost don't even need to go into this netted part. It's all right there, so you can really control and moderate how much product you're using at one time. So for this, like once again, I'm going back in with that spatula, and then I'll use that same brush as before to blend it out. This just helps me, I feel like, have a little bit more control over the pigmentation that I am laying down, and helps these two shadows blend together. As you get deeper into these cream shadows, they are very, very pigmented, which is amazing, but it also means that when you're working with a brush or spatula, it's a little bit harder to get them to blend in with each other when you don't have something that is kind of made for buffing. The other thing I wanted to mention with this, and actually just really expanding on why I need a primer, is because it dries down so solidly. The thing I experience, the problem that I experience with these when I don't use a primer, is less that they smudge. I've never had these smudge or fade, but they flake. And the first couple times I used them, I just wore them alone because they are so beautiful and metallic and pigmented, just worn alone, that's exactly how I like to wear them. But I found, especially when using the deeper plum shade that is so beautiful, it looks like mascara fallout because it's so dark when it does fall out. So just an interesting, to give you a better idea of exactly how this dries down. It doesn't feel tight or stiff on the eyelid, but that just happens to be how it dries down, to where it will sooner flake than smudge or run. So then, just to show you just how pigmented this purple is, I'll do a teensy little dab of that in my outer corner to help add some depth. And once again, this too has retained its liquid form to where once it's on the cap, that's the perfect amount to use. I wouldn't go sticking a brush or the applicator into the mesh portion, just because you're gonna get way too much product. To finish off the eyes, I'm going in with their newest mascara. This is the Fully Charged Mascara powered by magnetic technology. I recently reviewed this, so if you want to learn more about it, you can definitely go check that out. I love this. It has easily made it into my top 5 mascaras, because at the first layer, I really didn't think it was much to write home about, but it's a very lightweight, very layerable mascara, and because you can see it lengthens and separates while adding very minimal volume, you don't end up getting these super clumpy spider lashes as you add more layers. It just really helps make them longer and appear more wispy. That's a car. That's a car. I have never received compliments on my lashes the way I have when I have been wearing this, and people asking if my lashes are my own, which is good, right? So you can see the impact. One eye done, nothing on the other. It opens my eyes up like crazy, adds a ton of length and volume without making them look super clumpy. Next up are the brows, and I am using some of their Browder or Perfecting Brow Powder. This is really similar to something that came out from the drugstore. I forget which brand it was. It was like over a year ago at this point. But basically, it is on this tapered tip, and it's a powder product that you just sweep across your brows. It's really great for not only defining and actually filling in your brows, but also that powder texture is going to help thicken the appearance and feel of your brows as well. The nice thing about this applicator is it really, because of its tapered tip, it is good for getting this outer tail if that's what you are missing, like me. However, because it's not a super, and just the nature of it being a powder, it's not really easy to create a super clean edge here. So like Instagram brows, this is not gonna get you that, but it is gonna be, really. On to the rest of the face. I'm gonna start with bronzer, and actually I do wanna mention the one product I'm not gonna be talking about here, but I am dying to not only try, but also get a review up on, is the Cameo Contour. This guy is a dual-ended contour highlight stick that includes a sponge inside, so haven't had a chance to try it. It's just been sitting in my collection. I've been trying other things, and the product that I'm about to use is part of the new summer collection, so didn't want to over contour and bronze today, but that is on my radar. Let me know if you guys want to see a full review, or how you want to see. If you want to see it, let me know in the comments below. The product that I'm going to use for bronzer is their Glow Together Gradient Matte Shimmer Bronzer, and the way this guy works, it's one of those fantastic large discs, nice big mirror on the inside, but they have it divided into where the top part is matte, the bottom part is shimmer. The way I like to go about this is to mix the two together because I find they create a really flattering satin finish. However, you can already see I am glowing up a storm over here. I'm just going to go with the matte side because otherwise I will be a hot dewy mess in a few short minutes. Oh, and this, by the way, is their all over powder brush, but because it's bronzer, I just go use it to bronze it up all over. But you can see it's a size that's big enough to where I can just get into the contour shades, or if I were to do the shimmer, do that as well, or just give it a big swirl. This stuff is very pigmented, so mind that. The formula here is very, very smooth. It does kick up a lot of powder though, so it's very easy to go heavy on it at first kind of brush. Been there, done that before. But if you just are very careful with how you swirl your brush in there, it's very easy to layer up. Then moving on to blush and highlight. These are technically Strobe / highlight palettes. They released 2 of them for summer. One is Moonlight Glow, which you can see is a little bit kind of cooler here. It has like a pale gold, a light pink, and then a very subtle bronzy shade, whereas the Sun-Kissed Glow is somewhat deeper. Similar shade pairing, it really is just a teensy bit deeper here, if I can hold them up by compare. Wow! Close one. No makeup casualties here. Okay, so I hope we can make sense of this right now. You can see that the Sun-Kissed has a little bit of a warmer, actually warmer, gorgeous peachy gold tone, whereas this one's more pink. Generally, this is just deeper and warmer, whereas the Moonlit is a little bit softer and cooler. Just as a means of comparison, for this look today, because my eyeshadow is pulling a little bit more pinky coral with my rose gold shadow, I'm gonna go ahead and use the Sun-Kissed Glow. So for the blush, because it comes off as such a pigmented peach on me, I'm going in with this middle shade, which is Solar. So you can see it's very, very light on me. I mean, the highlight is definitely there, but the color, the pinky color itself is very subtle on my skin tone, but I think for very fair skin tones, it is going to show up a lot more pink. And in the daytime, when I'm not like washed out from a ring light, it definitely shows up a little bit more. So then I will do that. You could leave it like that. Obviously, it has a ton of built-in highlighter, or you could go in, I like to go in with the final shade in here, which is Aurora, the lightest, and just dab that at the backs of my cheekbones, because that's not typically where I would add blush, just to make sure you know you got enough highlight. Number one summer fear is that you're not wearing enough highlight. So that is it for the rest of the face. Then the only other thing that I am missing from this brand is a lipstick. So I am actually going in with a peachy tone. This is from Urban Decay. It's the part of the Revolution lipstick line. This is the shade Streak, and that is all I'm applying here. So that's actually one option. I'm not super ecstatic about that. I just feel like it could have been a little bit less coral, more rosy to match the eyes. So take 2. All right, one more time. This is a light gloss. I figure something a little less pigmented will be the trick. This is Jouer's lip gloss in the shade Hampton. It is a subtle peachy coral with gold shimmer in it. And that is the finished look. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'd love to hear what you think of this format. Not like it's revolutionary, but it's just not something that I typically do on this channel. Let me know if you like it. Like I said, I have tried all of these products. I've been working with them for some of them months at this point, so I'm finally just to get my thoughts out there. I hope you enjoyed hearing all about them. I would recommend most of them for the most part. Like I said, the one thing that really doesn't have a place for me on a daily basis is the foundation, but I do think it has a place for someone. But beyond that, for anyone who already owns these products, hopefully you got some ideas from this tutorial. Besides that, thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye guys.